It was a quiet morning in the small English town of Kettering on August 27, 2021. When police received a call from the parents of a young woman named Maddie Derdon Holli, they thought it would be a routine welfare check. Her family hadn't heard from her in over a day. Her phone was off. Her friends said the same: no replies, no posts, nothing. At first glance, the home looked peaceful. The gate was closed. A car stood neatly in the driveway. The front door was locked from the inside. But as the officers stepped in, the calm scene turned into something they would never forget. On the kitchen floor lay a man with a deep wound to his neck. Upstairs, in the bedroom, they found Maddie. Both were gone. The police immediately sealed the scene. What had happened in that quiet home would soon shock the entire country. To understand this tragedy, we have to go back to where it all began, to Maddie's life before everything went wrong. Maddie was born on April 21, 1999, in the small, close-knit village of Webbington, in Cambridgeshire, England. Her parents, Steve and Rachel, and her younger brother, Fabian, adored her. People in the village remembered Maddie as the kind of girl who lit up every room she entered. She was polite, responsible, and always had a warm smile. She loved to dance, it was her first passion. From a young age, she joined local competitions, practiced late into the night, and never missed a rehearsal. Her teachers described her as disciplined, driven, and full of life. She wasn't just talented, she had determination and kindness, something that made her stand out. Her passion for self-improvement carried into her adult life. After finishing school, Maddie chose a career in marketing. She started working for a company called Halo Mass Group, where, coincidentally, her father Steve was also the head of the marketing department. It felt like a perfect start: family nearby, a good job, a bright future. Her co-workers described her as focused and full of new ideas. She was the kind of person who took responsibility easily and never shied away from challenges. She was known for her maturity, polite, independent, and quietly confident. But behind the calm surface of her new life, something was waiting for her, a man whose charm would soon turn into control and whose love would become deadly. When Maddie joined Halo Mass Group, she met Benjamin Green, a 42-year-old senior manager from Yorkshire. Benjamin was well respected at work. He was smart, charismatic, and always seemed to know how to make people like him. He had a deep voice, strong presence, and an energy that made others listen when he spoke. To many, he was a leader, confident, experienced, and trustworthy. But behind that confident mask, there was another side of Benjamin that very few people knew. He had been married for 10 years, with 3 children, but that marriage ended in 2007. Officially, it was due to differences. Unofficially, it was because of his repeated affairs. Those close to him knew his pattern: he was charming until someone said no. He couldn't stand rejection. He loved control, in work, in relationships, in everything. To the outside world, he was a successful businessman. But privately, he was a man who needed to dominate. People whispered about him at work. New employees were quietly warned, "Stay careful around Benjamin." No one said it out loud, but the meaning was clear. He was a man who didn't like boundaries. When Maddie joined the team, Benjamin noticed her right away. The 20-year age gap didn't stop him. In fact, it made her seem even more like a challenge. He knew exactly how to approach women like her, compliment them, offer guidance, and slowly build emotional dependency. To Maddie, he was a respected mentor, someone with experience and wisdom. To Benjamin, she was his next target. At first, their professional relationship seemed harmless. He gave her advice on projects, praised her ideas, and acted like he genuinely cared about her success. For Maddie, who was young and ambitious, his support felt encouraging. She believed she was learning from the best. But Benjamin's interest wasn't professional. It was personal. He began texting her outside of work, inviting her for coffee to talk about marketing ideas. Then dinners. Then long, emotional conversations about life and love. By late 2019, their relationship had turned romantic. At work, they looked like the perfect couple, a young, bright woman and a confident, successful man. They smiled in meetings, shared inside jokes, and seemed inseparable. But what no one saw was how quickly Benjamin's charm began to shift into something darker. He wanted to know everything: where Maddie went after work, who she talked to, what she posted online. He masked it as care, but it was control. At first, Maddie brushed it off. She believed he was just protective. She thought that was what love looked like. But slowly, her life started revolving around his moods. What started as flattery soon became possession. And that was just the beginning of a cycle, one that would end in heartbreak, violence, and silence. By early 2020, things between Maddie and Benjamin seemed perfect from the outside. They went on trips together, posted happy photos, and looked like any other couple in love. But if you looked closely, you'd see the signs, the small changes that happen when love quietly turns into control. Benjamin started deciding what Maddie should wear. He didn't like her posting selfies without his approval. He'd ask who texted her, and if she didn't answer quickly, he'd go silent for hours, punishing her with distance. At first, she tried to explain his behavior to herself. "He just worries about me," she told her mother once. "He loves me a lot, maybe too much." But the truth was darker. Benjamin didn't worry about her, he wanted to own her. Maddie's friends noticed her becoming quieter, more careful. She started canceling plans, stopped going out, and rarely laughed like before. Her co-workers noticed that she avoided eye contact when Benjamin was around, as if afraid of saying something wrong. One of her closest friends later said, "It was like she was living two lives, one where she pretended everything was fine, and one where she was slowly disappearing." When the COVID lockdown hit in 2020, Maddie moved in with Benjamin at his home in Kettering. At first, it seemed romantic, a chance to spend more time together. But isolation gave Benjamin complete control. He knew where she was every second of the day. He began monitoring her phone. He'd go through her messages, her emails, even her social media drafts. If she smiled while texting a friend, he wanted to know who it was and what they said. He used small, clever ways to manipulate her mind. If she wore makeup, he'd ask, "Who are you trying to impress?" If she wanted to visit her parents, he'd say, "Why do you want to leave me alone?" He made her feel guilty for being independent. This is how psychological control works, not through shouting, but through slow, constant pressure that changes how a person sees themselves. By the end of 2020, Maddie wasn't the same woman she had been a year ago. She started doubting herself. She apologized for things she didn't do. She cried quietly when Benjamin wasn't looking. He had turned her confidence into confusion, her love into fear. Benjamin's own life was falling apart too, and he blamed everyone but himself. His ex-wife refused to let him see his kids without supervision. His work performance was slipping. He started losing friends because of his temper. To him, Maddie became the only thing left that made him feel powerful. He began to treat her like his property, something that could not leave him. There were arguments, loud and tense. Neighbors later said they sometimes heard shouting from the house, but it always stopped quickly. Maddie never called for help. She believed she could calm him down. But Benjamin's anger wasn't something she could fix. It was growing, feeding on jealousy and fear. In early 2021, Maddie told her mother that she was starting to feel trapped. Her mother, Rachel, gently told her, "Sweetheart, love should never make you feel small. If it does, it's not love anymore." That sentence stayed in Maddie's mind for weeks. She started writing her thoughts in a small notebook she kept in her handbag, things she wanted to say but couldn't. Most pages were short sentences like his changing. "I'm scared to upset him," or "I don't know how to leave." It was the first time she began to accept that something was wrong. By the summer of 2021, she decided to end it. She told Benjamin she wanted space, maybe even to move out. At first, he laughed. He said, "You're not serious." But when he realized she meant it, his face changed. He became quiet, cold, and distant. Then he began doing everything he could to pull her back: gifts, apologies, tears. He said he couldn't live without her. He said she was his world. But Maddie had made up her mind. She wanted to leave before things got worse. In August 2021, Maddie told a close friend she planned to end the relationship for good. She said she would go to Benjamin's house that weekend and talk to him face to face. Her friend asked if she wanted someone to come with her, but Maddie refused. She said, "I just want closure. I think I can handle it." No one knew that those would be her last words to her friends. On August 27, 2021, Maddie's car was seen pulling into Benjamin's driveway around 5 p.m. Neighbors heard voices for a while, calm at first, then louder. Around 7 p.m., the house went quiet. By the next morning, her family tried calling. No answer. Hours passed. Still nothing. When they called the police for a welfare check, they hoped it was a misunderstanding. But when officers entered the house, they found what no parent should ever see. Benjamin Green had taken Maddie's life, and then his own. The investigation revealed how deeply Benjamin's obsession had grown. He had left behind a note that made it clear, if Maddie wouldn't stay, no one else could have her. It was a case that broke hearts across the UK. People couldn't understand how someone so full of life could be taken by someone she once trusted. Maddie's story became a painful reminder of how dangerous psychological control can be, how love, when mixed with obsession, can turn into something deadly. After Maddie told Benjamin she wanted to leave, something inside him broke. To the outside world, he still seemed calm, the same confident man who always looked in control. But inside, he was falling apart. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't focus at work. Every minute of the day, his mind was replaying her words. "I need some space." To him, those words weren't about freedom, they were rejection, humiliation. Benjamin wasn't just losing a girlfriend, he was losing the only thing that made him feel important. He had built his entire identity around control, and Maddie was part of that. Without her, he felt empty. He began to twist reality, convincing himself that she was being influenced by others, that she didn't really want to leave, that she just needed to see reason. He started stalking her social media. He looked through old messages, reread their conversations over and over. He even drove past her workplace once, sitting in his car, staring at the building, hoping to see her. But she didn't appear. And that made him even angrier. Benjamin's friends noticed his behavior changing. He started drinking more. He'd bring up Maddie in every conversation, saying things like, "She's making a mistake," or "She doesn't know what she's doing." One of his colleagues later said, he couldn't let go. It wasn't love anymore, it was control. He convinced himself that Maddie belonged to him, that no one else had the right to decide what happened between them. This mindset, the dangerous blend of narcissism and obsession, is what psychologists call coercive control. It's when someone uses emotional manipulation to dominate another person completely, and when that control starts slipping, they can become unpredictable, even violent. Benjamin began tracking every trace of Maddie's life. When she posted a picture with friends, he'd zoom in on the background to see where she was. When she didn't reply fast enough, he'd send angry messages. "Who are you with? Why are you ignoring me? You know I can't live without you." His obsession grew darker. He began imagining scenarios where she'd move on, where someone else might love her, touch her, take his place. The thought made his blood boil. He wasn't thinking like a rational man anymore. He was thinking like someone cornered, someone who had decided that if he couldn't have her, no one would. By mid-August 2021, Benjamin had stopped showing up to work regularly. He called in sick, avoided calls, and spent most of his days alone at home. He was spiraling, and no one knew just how dangerous he had become. On August 25th, he sent Maddie a message that simply said, "We need to talk. I want to fix things. Please come see me one last time." Maddie hesitated. Her friends advised her not to go. Her mother told her to stay safe, maybe meet him in a public place. But Maddie believed that closure would help her move on. She wanted peace, not a fight. So she agreed to meet him that weekend. In the days before she arrived, Benjamin prepared everything. He cleaned the house, lit candles, and made dinner plans. To him, it was supposed to be their reunion, the moment she'd realized she belonged with him. But beneath that fantasy, there was something else, a quiet, cold decision forming in his mind. If she said no, he wouldn't let her walk away. He wrote in his private notebook, "If I can't have her, I'll end it all. Both of us." Those words would later be found on his desk. When Maddie arrived on August 27th, Benjamin greeted her with a calm smile. For the first few minutes, things seemed normal. He poured her a drink, asked about her work, tried to make her laugh. But when Maddie gently said, "Ben, I think it's time we go our separate ways," everything inside him snapped. His face turned red. He stood up quickly, pacing across the room, his voice rising. "You can't just leave me like this, Maddie. After everything I've done for you." She tried to stay calm, saying softly, "You haven't done anything wrong, Ben. I just need to find myself again." But he wasn't listening. He was shaking, furious, desperate. He began shouting, accusing her of seeing someone else, of lying, of using him. Maddie tried to leave, but he blocked the door. And then, silence. No one knows exactly what happened in those final moments. But investigators believe that in a fit of rage, Benjamin attacked Maddie, and when it was over, when he saw what he had done, he turned the violence on himself. When police arrived the next day, they found both of them, Maddie upstairs, Benjamin downstairs. The house was quiet, perfectly still. On Benjamin's desk was his final note. "I loved her too much. I couldn't let her go." The aftermath was devastating. Maddie's family's grief was beyond words. Her father said in a statement, "She was the kindest, brightest light in our lives. We never imagined love could become something so dangerous." Her story made national news. Not just because of the tragedy, but because it showed the hidden face of psychological abuse. How control can disguise itself as care. How obsession can wear the mask of love. And how silence can be deadly. In the months that followed, people across the UK shared Maddie's story online with hashtags like #JusticeForMaddie and #StopCoerciveControl, hoping it would save others from the same fate. Her case became a lesson, one that experts, police, and families now use to help others recognize the warning signs. Maddie's life ended too soon, but her story continues to echo, reminding everyone that sometimes, the most dangerous monsters don't hide in the dark, they hide behind a smile. When the news of Maddie's death reached her family, time seemed to stop. Her mother dropped the phone. Her father stood frozen, unable to understand the words the officer was saying. For a moment, they both believed there had to be a mistake. Maddie couldn't be gone, not their bright, kind, 22-year-old daughter who had just begun her life. But as the hours passed, reality sank in. The daughter they loved so deeply had been taken from them, by someone who once claimed to love her too. The crime scene at Benjamin Green's house was quiet but heavy with sorrow. Investigators moved carefully, collecting evidence, phones, notes, fingerprints. The living room was tidy, almost too perfect. Dinner plates were still on the table. 2 glasses of wine, untouched. Upstairs, they found Maddie's handbag and phone on the bed. Her notebook was still inside, the one she had written in weeks earlier, full of fears she never spoke out loud. On the final page, written in her delicate handwriting, were the words, "I hope he can let me go." Those words broke every heart in that room. The post-mortem confirmed what the police already suspected. There had been a violent argument. Benjamin, in a fit of rage and despair, had taken Maddie's life before turning on himself. It wasn't planned in detail, it was an explosion of control, a final act of ownership. Detectives later said that what made the case so chilling wasn't just the brutality of the act, but the calm before it. There were no police reports, no restraining orders, no signs to suggest that Maddie was in immediate danger. That's what made it so terrifying. The violence had been hidden behind politeness, smiles, and everyday normalcy. When news of the tragedy hit the media, the story spread across the UK. People were shocked. How could a man who looked so normal, respected, successful, charming, commit such a horrible act? Newspapers called it the Kettering tragedy. TV shows debated the warning signs of coercive control. Online forums filled with people sharing their own stories of emotional manipulation. Maddie's name became a symbol of awareness, a reminder that abuse isn't always physical, and that love can turn toxic long before anyone sees it coming. Her parents, Steve and Rachel, faced the hardest days of their lives. They had to stand in front of cameras and talk about their daughter in the past tense, something no parent should ever have to do. Steve said in one interview, "She was full of life, full of love. If we'd known what was happening behind closed doors, we would have done anything to save her." Rachel added, "People think abuse is only when someone hits you. But sometimes, it's the words, the control, the fear of upsetting someone. That's the kind that kills slowly." Their bravery inspired thousands. They began speaking publicly about Maddie's story, working with domestic abuse charities, helping others recognize the early signs of control. 1 year later, they launched a campaign in Maddie's name, focused on psychological abuse awareness, to protect others from silent suffering. Police investigations revealed more about Benjamin's behavior in the months before the murder. He had become obsessed. He searched online for how to make someone stay, relationship control, and revenge after breakup. On his phone were hundreds of deleted messages, voice notes, and screenshots of Maddie's social media posts. The picture was clear. Benjamin's mind had been consumed by the idea that Maddie was his possession. And when he felt that power slipping away, his ego couldn't handle it. Psychologists who studied the case later described Benjamin as a high-functioning narcissist with possessive tendencies. He didn't see Maddie as a partner, he saw her as an extension of himself. When she chose freedom, he saw it as betrayal. This mindset, experts say, is common in coercive control relationships. The abuser doesn't always look violent. They might appear calm, successful, even loving. But inside, they crave domination. It starts with small things, checking your messages, choosing your clothes, deciding who you can talk to. And then, slowly, it becomes your entire life. Months after Maddie's death, Her friends gathered at the same dance studio where she had spent her childhood. They played her favorite song. Each friend lit a candle and shared a memory, the way she laughed, her kindness, her love for life. There were tears, but also determination. One of her friends said quietly, "She was light. He tried to destroy it, but we won't let him. We'll make sure everyone remembers who she was, not what he did." Today, Maddie's story continues to be shared around the world. Not as a story of tragedy, but as a warning, a real example of how love can become control and how silence can cost lives. Her Parents' campaign has reached schools, offices, and social media. Young people are now being taught how to recognize red flags early: jealousy disguised as care, isolation disguised as protection, control disguised as love. Maddie's name has become a voice for those too afraid to speak. Her light, though taken too soon, now helps guide others out of darkness. Sometimes, the scariest stories aren't about monsters in the shadows. They're about people who smile while breaking you apart piece by piece. They're about how trust can be weaponized, how love can blind, and how control can kill. Maddie's life was short, but her story has already saved others. And that, perhaps, is her final victory.